will be gradually beginning. I am Justyna Jasiewicz, and I work in Pricewaterhouse, Poland. We support public institutions in their digital transformation, and I guess you are considering, what am I doing here? Well, so as PricewaterhouseCoopers, we also support public administration and cooperating with European Commission in implementing structural reforms. And together with our friends from Hortimedia, from the former panel, we end the project about transformation in Poland. And after cooperation with various partners, we had an opportunity to meet during this fascinating adventure, which this project is. We also got here, and I'm very glad that today we will be talking not very balanced panel gender-wise, but it gives us a good input to discussion on how digital technologies and breakthrough technologies can be supporting presence of women in food tech. And I'll be talking to 4 gentlemen who in discussion will show us synergy of various perspectives which are present in the sector of agricultural production and processing also, because we have a great variety, although it is uniform gender-wise, the panel, it's a great variety regarding various sectors being represented here. My guests today in the panel are Mr. Mirosław Raba, Food, Mr. Vasyl Golubka, Marketing, Corteva, Agriscience, Marcin Gryn, who is a farmer implementing modern technologies in his farm, and Mr. Marcin Brochocki, who is a manager in Polnek Farms. And in a moment I'll ask gentlemen to introduce themselves, but let me tell you what the panel is going to look like. We have 58 minutes for discussion with 4 panelists who have a lot to say. Some of the panelists already behind us. We started discussing in the foyer some 40 minutes ago, and we almost came late to this panel. After a brief presentation, introduction, and the gentleman will tell you what topics they deal with, we will have 2 rounds of questions. And the concept is that in the first round we will make a bit of a zoom out. We will try to talk about what are the main technologies, but also what innovations, breakthrough solutions are, but also what are the main barriers which make implementation of these technologies difficult for farmers and producers. And in the second round, more precisely, we'll talk about what solutions are currently available in the market and how the various sectors can be supporting farmers in adopting them. It is extremely important, as we discussed before entering here. We would very much like to touch on those barriers in implementation, and we will wrap up with a few minutes of discussion about the main challenges. So, if you allow, let me ask my guests for a brief introduction, maybe from that end, a really brief life story, what you were involved in. And welcome, I'm Marcin Brochocki. I work in Polnek company, and with 10 years of experience in modern technologies for dairy farms. From 2016, I have been working with Polnek Group as specialist in milk powders, new products, new technologies. And since 2023, I am Polnek for Farms project manager. Great, thank you, Mirek. Yes, good morning, Mirek Raba. I represent the community of knowledge and innovation, EIT Food. I am also manager, and my main role in this organization is to cooperate with our strategic partners and extending strategic partnerships to European scale. And from this perspective, I will be presenting today I will be responding your questions. Great, thank you. Good morning, I'm Vasyl Golubka, and first of all, I would like to thank you for invitation to this conference. I am head of marketing in Corteva Agriscience company, and among others, I'm in charge for introduction new species into Polish market and plant production. Corteva Agriscience is a biotechnological company, agricultural company. It's an American company, active globally, and in spite of being quite young, it is 6 years in the market. It resulted as a merger of 3 companies, which actually gives us over 50 years of history in cooperation with Polish farmer. Thank you. And a Polish farmer, thank you very much. A very warm welcome. I'm Marcin, and advocate to my predecessor. I'm at the other end of the chain. I run a family farm in Zamość region, family which within a few years, from a few hectares, exceeded the barrier of 100 hectares. I recognize that if I want to mean something in this space, if I want to exist in the future, I must catch up with leaders, and it was possible, among others, thanks to some innovations, technological innovations, and changing approach to agriculture compared to former generations. Although later I will tell you we are back to the roots. And additionally, I act as a member of the board of Zamość Plant Association and producers of cereals, and towards technological changes, legislative changes also, which are of great importance for my farm. And I'm looking at our direction, but if not us, who will form this future well? Thank you for the brief presentations, and as you can see here, lots of perspectives is provided. And Mirek, I would like to ask from asking you the first question. You said that from your perspective and what you deal in your organization, cooperation is of key importance, but I would like you to make a step back, asking you what for this cooperation and in what aspects technology is developing so that cooperation mechanisms are more and more significant, and how, from EIT food perspective, these technologies supported by the work of farmers in the region, within one region, one country, or over natural level, how can they support implementation and adoption of the technologies? Thank you for this question. And let me add what EIT Food is dealing with and why I'll be talking of innovations. Our organization was established by European Commission in order to support the development of innovations in broadly understood agri-food industry, and therefore we carry out various activities supporting young farmers and also large institutions and companies in implementing innovations. And regarding technological trends, we can see, based on experience we have with startups, because we supported about 1,500 of them over the recent 3 years, it is really quite a large number, and we get feedback directly. These are 3 areas I can tell you about, but these areas and technologies are already there. We can see iteration and improvement of these technologies, but what will be breakthrough will be combining them into one, and such a consolidation which will allow to implement these technologies in farms, helping farmers to better work and have better results of their work. The first area is healthy soil. Here we can see a great need to support healthy soil, and here we are talking of 2 aspects. On the one hand, it is testing soil and getting quick results. In the former panel, we got a statement that you have to wait 2-3 years in order to be able to refer to results, and that's true, but we are after helping innovators in the way of testing soil so that farmer can get feedback quicker. And on the other hand, we can see innovations, and I'll be basing on startups we cooperated with. Modern approach to fertilizers. One of such examples is EcoLife company. It is a Slovenian startup which patented technology of creating fertilizer, actually pretending to be natural soil. It is an example of modern approach to fertilizers, not necessarily looking at what to add, but how to create or replicate natural processes in such a way that it can be done en masse. This is one element. So we have, say, healthy soil. And the second technological direction we can see is precise agriculture and robotization. And again, as I mentioned earlier, these are not new directions, but they should in future merge very nicely, and here we can see the beginning of this concept. And here regarding precise agriculture, let me give you two examples. One is a Polish company, Sadagro, we cooperated with, who give access to the platform utilizing satellite data to manage a farm. This first example, and the other one you can see here in Ripe's Technologies in the exhibition area. It's a robot combining AI and robotization, helping in harvesting berries, broadly understood. And third direction is plants themselves. And here we are talking of not genetic modification, but about approaching building a plant. Building, it's not a good word, but to having a plant which will be resistant to climate changes. And here we can see approach to this. There is a limitation regarding GMO. Therefore, we are not getting into this. But we have an example of a startup from France which went through our acceleration processes with a modern approach to natural evolution, speeding up the process so that you can view a plant in such a, hey, okay, what plants we need in these conditions, in this climate, and how can we get to this plant using natural processes happening in the nature anyway. So these are the three elements we can see as the main directions for development of technology. And as I mentioned up front, regarding revolutionary implementation of these technologies, it will be combining them and implementing them as a unity in managing the farm in the future. So in my opinion, these will be the elements I would like to talk about. Thank you very much for going one or even two steps away from, I mean, to give us a broader perspective in this discussion. The project I mentioned, we were dealing with the second element you mentioned. You talked of precise agriculture and how AI and technology, sensors, biosensors, IoT, can support a farmer in everyday farm management, but the broader context of soil health and health of plants is very important. What does it look like from farmers' perspective? Which areas, which Mirek mentioned, you are implementing in your farm? You know, over coffee we made friends, so I address panelists directly, but which technologies you are making use from, and what are the benefits from applying them? And if you could tell us also how these technologies, what role they played in descaling from small farm to over 100 hectares. And here my predecessors made a very good introduction to what I may refer to. But by the way, starting, let me refer to the title of the conference. We are talking of innovations, technological innovations. We have to start from this. Not to confuse techniques with technology, because techniques is digitalization, developing, but technology is the whole lot of production, which starts from preparing the seeds and production means which the farmer is using. And here we feel a bit of shortage compared to the rest of the world, not only about the opportunities and threats, because from a farmer's perspective, unfortunately, I must state that we talk a lot today about threats like Mercosur or Ukraine entering the European Union. Well, we're from Mercosur. Let me raise a theory as a diagnosis. Europe is a very good creation of innovation. We have very capable scientists, good production centers regarding new technologies. But why these technologies are not implemented here? Well, today, first of all, European restrictions raise a barrier, legal barrier for implementation of many innovations, and a financial barrier, because all legal aspects generate further costs for implementing innovations, both for producers of the innovations, but also for consumers and for the farmer. Therefore, these innovations, I'm worried, will unfortunately be shrinking in Europe, and this area we will be able to benefit from will be more and more narrow. And what I'm aiming at, this Mercosur, is not significant due to what will be going towards us regarding agricultural products, but regarding technologies escaping from here, because all innovative technologies go to American markets and dynamically developing African, Asian markets. But now I'm aiming at what I want to say. We in our farm, we are using, first of all, well, we are from the very beginning putting stakes on good seeds quality. So what we want to highlight, where we see new genome techniques which will somehow allow us to prepare the plant for difficult conditions which keep changing. To mention the conditions in my farm, where I make notes and analysis from the beginning of January until now, 60 liters of water fell. So it is 250 in a year, I hope, will come. So this will be 250 millimeters per square meter, and it will be in two large scale rainfalls, which will generate more evil than good. We can see that climate crisis is increasing, so we must prepare plants before they go to our fields, and we as farmers do our utmost to prepare those fields for the plants so that they can make use of the potential, still existing potential. It's too big a word, but in our farm we pay special attention at the healthy soil. In our economy, we actually do plowless in wheat, rye and potato, which is disputable, but with the rainfall I mentioned, we must catch every drop of water. We must not let water floating away, so we actually plow down to 50 centimeters, and we apply very deep fertilization to stimulate the root system to development of the, so that from the water gathered in soil they make better use, because soil is today just great storage of water and carbon, and the more organic matter, the more water we can gather. It is also very pro-environmental, because the carbon sequestrated in soil is in soil, not in atmosphere. Therefore, today we have this ecological aspect of agriculture. Today we are looking for highly complicated schemes which can make agriculture more pro-climate. Actually, plants sequestrate CO2 and gather the carbon in soil. So I'm actually hopping here and there, but I want to fit in time. Today we are also benefiting from a lot of digitalization and technique aspects. What I myself learned a few days ago, today we are talking of not laboratory tests, but we talk of digital analysis of plant and soil. These are novelties which will be appearing. So almost online we will have information about what is happening in the field, what is happening with the plants, and AI, which is we may say a new baby of this new technology, elaborates models which will be actually taking decision-making off our head, or will be helping, advising. These opportunities are very broad, but what I mentioned initially, there is a great worry from us that legally certain things may appear too big barriers to be crossed, and I think that here Mr. from Corteva can say much more. If other non-European markets are open and how much capital is invested here today. Today we can see it even in spite of the crisis in Ukraine. We keep hearing how modern technologies are implemented in those farms in order to survive this crisis. And today we are facing a great challenge for Europe to make a step back, because we have to realize that the settlement tribe is out of fashion. Well, actually, a village surrounded by a fence was built in the past, and now we either want to have a situation open, cooperating with the whole world, or to make it a closed settlement and produce for our own market. Here we mentioned new genome techniques, but I wouldn't like us to be afraid to say that we farmers need GMO plants in order to fight those changes, and many of these challenges we have to be talking about, which are being imposed on a farmer, to cope with them. In the second part, I think I will be able to dwell on it more broadly. Great thanks for this input, not only the practical and legal aspects, showing us the legal challenges being one of the key areas which makes life more difficult for farmers and producers. But now I would like to move on to producers and recipients of farm products. Vasyl, we have a broad context outlined, trends, practice. So, Vasyl, I would like to ask you now what the latest achievements in the area of your organization are seen, what you are working on, but also to avoid forgetting about the side of absorption of new technologies and innovations, how farmers are prepared for making use of breakthrough solutions, of innovations, and are you supporting them somehow? Clear. In biotechnology, in agriculture, the main support should be in three areas: helping farmer cope with difficult conditions, increase crops, and support sustainable development. And if we are talking of these biotechnologies, innovations, I would heave off three main areas. One of such main pillars is biopesticides, so products which contain natural substances, be it fungi, microorganisms, or extracts from plants which help fight diseases or pests. Innovation also being biofertilizers, which help us improve quality of soil and to use the maximum of microelements present in the soil. Next innovation, which was mentioned here, are new genome techniques, so-called NGT, which help us precisely to improve the species by using genes from the given type of plants. NGT species are very similar to traditional farming. We can twice speed up the process instead of creating a new variety instead of 10 years, we need less years. So regarding ammunition for the changing conditions, in many countries they already introduced the legislative approvals enabling tests and commercialization on NGT, mainly South America, North America, African and Asian markets, but in the EU, legislative work is in progress, but we are looking at it with optimism. Viewing these works. So, we hope it will also appear. Thank you very much. And
przejdziemy na stronę.
Then let's move to the side of producers. Broad perspective is already behind us. Marcin, a question to you. What, in your opinion, greatest from Polmlek perspective and Polmlek for farms, this perspective would be interesting. What greatest challenges you see related to integration of modern technologies in production processes? And again, a question, how are you supporting and preparing farmers, producers to utilizing them?
Myślę, że mogę trochę więcej powiedzieć o tym projekcie.
Can I say more about this project?
Ważne jest to, co tu pan Marcin też powiedział.
It's important what Marcin said about his worries, and generally the Polmlek for Farms project is something what we created to support Polish dairy breeders. But I must admit it is a common initiative following all these unclarities, doubts, these dynamics of legal changes.
Powstaje bardzo duża obawa, jest duża niepewność, tak.
Quite a lot of uncertainty arises. It requires much greater consolidation, much tighter cooperation between producer, supplier, and the dairy farm and dairy plant. And therefore, our project was organized supporting farms through innovative products, through knowledge transfer, through access to modern technologies, but among others also through supporting the good climate for further development of the sector. So at conferences like this one, where we together talk about something being wrong. There are certain problems which may stop the sector soon, and we cannot allow this because it can be compared to a race where we have a superb car, we have a vast potential, and we drive at the fourth gear with high rotation, and somebody says, okay, maybe now you drive on 3 wheels. No, something like this must not be in place, and therefore we want to go on and to put it into the next gear. So this is what it should look like, and there is quite a lot of things which we have to do, and we do together. And farmer is entrepreneur, first of all, and it is changing. And farmer as a modern person needs modern solutions. We talk of managing the farm, optimization of costs. We also support our farmers with good genes aimed at popularizing the solutions which are the future, which we have to be introducing, trying to remain competitive in the market. And if we know that most milk in Poland must be exported. We as a large company, we export to 140 countries worldwide. In each of those countries there are various restrictions, regulations, but we must remain competitive to other producers. Well, as Mariusz said, we have the additional balance. We cannot be competitive to countries who do not have this balance. So our only edge is technological edge. We cannot be competing with simple cost prevalence. We have to be developing technology. We have to be introducing new specialist products. We have to build competitive edge so that we can further export these goods. And Polmlek is a pioneer in development of technologies, new products, be it in food market, but also in animal feeding, because we introduced such milk replacement products into the market, and other products were, among others, we are using milk raw materials. So yet another problem being shrinking number of dairy farms in this country, and also the fact that less and less young people want to stay in those farms and work. We must also show them, and we must give them tools for their work, not to be only hard hack work from morning to night, but they are entrepreneurs. They have to base on statistics, on facts, on data, and AI will help them
te dane jakby zebrać, zanalizować być może.
gather the data, analyze the data to some extent. Of course, decision will always finally be in the hands of the farmer, of the entrepreneur. And we are going in this direction to give them real tools, real programs, innovative products, and through this to remain competitive in the market. And if all these challenges I mentioned, we will cope with it together with our suppliers, external barriers, in inner limitations. So if we go in this direction further on to still increase the burden, we will not have strong farms. A strong farm is a strong dairy plant. And strong dairy plant is a stability partner not only for animal breeders, but also provides stability for consumers as well. So these challenges of contemporary world, of contemporary agriculture, are also barriers for implementing new technologies in the farms due to dissatisfaction, due to many farms see changes being pointless, because why should I be doing it? In a moment there will be further barriers, so maybe better we stop this production. And no, we cannot accept it. Yeah, let's lease the land. No. Some people will benefit, will follow this trend, but some will undoubtedly be aiming at concluding their activities. And we as producers cannot afford this. We as dairy processing farms, we will not be operating without raw material. So this is a common initiative for difficult times, but I hope it will be continued. I can see, based on these meetings, because transfer of technology at conferences, we are meeting our suppliers, and it is fine because they are not saying now, hey, do this product or that product, but they say, hey, let us do it together. So we are not a cooperative, but they feel this being our project in common, making deeper sense. What you are saying shows a very broad phenomenon, that undoubtedly production and agriculture is at the time of great change and great transition, among others, generation transition, which we discussed in the before the panel. Well, succession of farms, encouraging young people to stay in agriculture, in agricultural production, broadly understood in all possible sectors. And, well, semi-seriously, we are saying that young people dream of sitting in IT in glass skyscrapers and working there, but there are, well, actually nothing more than agricultural production based on processing data, availability of them, and basing on various databases. I had a morning coffee with Director Drigas, and we talked about how this incompatibility of data flow between or among various entities in Poland makes digital transformation of agriculture difficult in Poland. Thank you for a broader context than I had planned. Let us move on to practical implementation, practical solution, and Marcin, addressing you first, if you allow, very practical examples of application of technique and technology in your farm. What is your experience? We have already identified barriers. How did you manage to actually jump over these barriers, and what benefits you see from implementing innovative solutions? Well, again, let me start from the grain. As Vasyl said, NGT focuses first of all on shortening the breeding process, and here we have to place a big stress on it, so that first of all consumers of the food are actually in peace, and shortening breeding process, because in NGT we focus much more preparing the seeding material to reduce mutations which might appear in the seed area. So this is the process. Well, it sounds maybe terrible, the genome thing, but it is important in preparing seeding material for production compared to traditional process. So focusing on our hobby horse in the farm, focusing on soil quality. We use plow less and then deep fertilizing to best accumulate water in the ground. We by all means try to avoid additional watering of our plantations, and again we focus on America here, California, which very strongly exploited their water sources for irrigating vegetable and fruit farms, actually got short of water, and they are short of drinking water, and in ground there are hollows, and the capacity, load-bearing capacity of soil is ruined there. Everybody says, yes, you have 3 greatest water reservoirs underground in Lublin area, but it is also a strong point, but it is a responsibility for the water sources. We avoid overusing them. We use them so as to get stability of crops rather than utilizing those natural sources. This is the ecology we are implementing, and here I'm relating again to the fact that today we are searching in a wrong place, not here where we should. We drill in wrong ways, because in farms, plow less and taking care of water, it aims at ecology to the benefit of environment, but first of all to the benefit of the farmer. Because in my farm, rape with root down to 2 meters and rye, which can have deep roots too, and they all have tomatoes down to 1 meter. And so the first layer, 0 to 30 centimeters, can go dry, but below the depth of 30 centimeters, humidity of soil is at constant level, and majority of plants take half, and sometimes even more than half the water. In many cases, more than half the water they take from below 30 centimeters, unless, of course, it has the hard level underground, the plowing hard. Well,
Mówimy o przyszłości.
We are talking about the future, but we must highlight that in future, in the past, plow was not actually turning the ground. The old plow only moved the ground, but we can additionally stimulate the plant. So history turns back. And I must ask additional question, because what you are saying, so plow, so no dig or plowless farming is not only in farming but also in gardening. So additional question, what was the response of your friends, neighbors and other farmers to implementation of no dig? Well, if I listened to their opinions, I would not be here. Well, it's not humble, but as I said, did they think you went crazy? No. It's generally those technologies were known, but everybody said that in such a small farm, a few hectares, it doesn't make sense. But I told myself, if I want to fight for the future of my farm and I want to stay in this, I must catch up with the leaders. And the best proof of our choice being right, we caught up with the leaders, and we are actually going forward stronger and stronger. The further we go, we have more possibility to develop. There are certain barriers which raise our worries, and there were worries in our parents and comments from people around us that it was not completely right. But I believe that what proves right in global powers, in large farms, which is successfully applied, is not blind choice. Somebody must have analyzed it well and selected properly. So therefore we followed the example of the leaders. And let me highlight that in other aspects we should be following the leaders. And talking of the genome techniques and GMO, I want to refer to it again because just very briefly, wrapping up what I mentioned, soil, what I focused on, Europe in total has equally as many degraded soils as all other continents together. So is our policy going in the right direction if we have the lowest consumption of active substance, and result is we are most degraded soils? Europe has the same amount of degraded soils as other continents together. So is it all going in the right direction? You mentioned how you support more ecological and innovative way of management. I wanted to change the sequence a little bit, and Vasyl, let me ask you, if you allow, how seed products you work on resonate with what Marcin was talking about, and is it really so that good seed production may be supporting regenerative farming and modern exploitation? Not only seed production, because in Corteva, from the very beginning, in 2019, it was established as an independent company. We decided to support farmers and the environment, so we act in 5 areas, which we highlighted as key ones in order to provide the future for farming, because we hear a lot about threats, and we as Corteva Polska have 5 pillars, and first of all, it is the varieties, providing modern varieties which will help fighting the more and more difficult weather conditions, but also allow resistance to diseases. This is very, very important, and it is number 1 for us. Number 2, our modern plant protection means we hear a lot of withdrawing substances, that we are losing many substances. Therefore, in Corteva, we are proud that every year we provide innovations for farmers in Poland, new products, but also new active substances. So we keep introducing innovations. The third pillar being biological products mentioned, which also help us strengthen resistance of plants and support this sustainable agriculture. So biology, we can see a future for sustainable farming will not change to totally chemical solutions, but it will be supporting, and we can see that in the area of 20–25% of production applied until 2030 will be biological products. And here we come to the fourth pillar. It's a pleasure that we are touching on it at this forum. It is soil, because I wish myself and all the farmers for such a demand and such attraction, which we can see at agricultural fairs when everybody gather to hear about modern tractor. So to have the same level of interest in soil, because this is the main tool for a farmer's work. Now, most of you find hard to imagine their work without a desk with computer, or at least a smartphone. And here for a farmer, well, working without good soil is not possible to imagine. So Corteva and in Pillar 4, together with farmers through education to strengthen the visibility of soil, what is in soil and how can we help here. So we talk of it today. I know that in the afternoon there will be a soil-focused session, and this is more and more visible, and I think this is the direction we should be acting in together. And the fifth direction of Corteva is transfer of knowledge. We as global company, international act, we carry out a lot of various studies, and we keep investing about $4 million in developing and research. So we gather a vast knowledge we are ready to share. Therefore, we carry out lots of trainings, and for 4 years already we have been a patron of a modern knowledge transfer. So we are patron to a video channel, eField, which together with Polish scientists, we make this knowledge transfer for the whole community here in Poland. So in Corteva we know that end result is what counts, and therefore there is not a single thing, be it a variety or technology. No, the final result based on all 5 pillars is important. So for many years I have been involved in digital competence and absorption. So what you are saying about transfer of knowledge, supporting the soft part, is extremely important for me. So I will now hand over the floor to Polmek. How is Polmek supporting? Marcin, you mentioned a little bit the trainings, conferences, but in practice, of adoption of advanced technologies which we are applying, we discussed managing technologies supporting the pool or production of milk. Well, firstly, what a farmer can benefit from, but also what a person running milk production, what they can benefit from and what support they can count upon. Well, so first of all, most important thing we as a dairy plant can take care of are new products in zero waste technology. This is very significant. I wouldn't like anybody to think that we feed our calves with waste. No. At this moment, development of technology, this modern technology allows us to actually separate certain things which so far were treated to be used for biogas generation. Now we can separate such fractions, and the technological development is so great that we can, something what was insignificant in the past, we use it now as very fine solutions in production of milk. So an example of it being our liquid, which we call lactosole.
Podczas produkcji tego płynu właśnie powstają
We produce lactose in Lidzbark-Warmiński, so lactosols, that is energy and minerals from milk. And very broadly, we ask that and utilize it in new and innovative products. So at the first stage, we implemented it in mousse for calves and in dry feed for calves. Now we test it as drink around the birth age. So,
badawczo-rozwojowe, które mamy w naszych zakładach.
Plus R&D centers and milk replacement preparation, drying towers allow us to dry milk substance, providing the calves with all feeding nutrients. And so the raw material we get from our supplier, and then we give back to them a highly valuable product, which in first lactation can give us, as a plant, about 1,000 liters of milk more. We named it Circle of Milk, and we invite more and more people to this circle. More and more companies, more and more universities participate in the milk circle, and this is the future for our milk plant, because the programs, healthy calf or good genes, it is popularization of already existing solutions. But if we look, and we have also an application implemented for our suppliers, which we feed regarding number of liters of milk obtained, and we provide them with knowledge through various elaborations. But we also have a module for interaction, various questionnaires, and we also ask in which direction you would like to go training, what a solution you would like to get to know. Taking this opportunity, we are open for all kinds of cooperation for startups, because we must join forces as a whole sector in order to create one fine tool, which is gathering data and utilizing most modern technologies, so that our supplier at the end of the day can make the most right decisions. And finally, the fact that from milk we make a feed product. It works somewhere, but next year from this milk we will be able to provide our suppliers with mineral fertilizer. So in the spirit of zero waste, most modern techniques gives us these opportunities.
Piękna nazwa, krąg mleka, i bardzo Ci dziękuję.
Beautiful name, Milk Circle, and thank you very much for this theme of cooperation. And final question, Mirek, to you. You start, and I will ask you to answer the last question. How, from your perspective of your organization with IAT Food, how is this cooperation going on, and what role in is of regional partnerships in strengthening this, and what we miss in this respect, and what we should do for all possible agricultural production points to be cooperating well. Well, thank you. From our perspective, partnership is of key importance in solving problems, and like we view partnerships, as I mentioned initially, we are cooperation of innovation of knowledge, and we aim at
Z jednej strony
grouping something what we name a triangle of innovation. On the one hand, we want to talk to
jednym z takich partnerów
industrial partners. Maspex is one of them. On the other hand, we want to encourage and we cooperate with universities, with academic centers, and the third point in the triangle, we call it R&D, and we classify for it startups and research centers, because we can see a difference between them, and this is what we want to be doing, what is most important from partnership perspective, because like today in one room, representatives of various organizations will meet. Industry on one hand, having a problem, but also some solutions, and we will meet a startup or a farmer who has a certain problems and who can see that this solution can have a potential for implementation with them. This is the start for introducing transfer of innovations. We do it at European level, so our partnerships are all European partnerships. And to give you a broader picture, now we have about 200 partners within EIT Food from all over Europe. I represent the Warsaw office, and I'm in charge of Central Europe and Nordic countries. It is an interesting combination, because from the perspective of the European Commission, Central and Eastern Europe is slightly behind regarding introduction of innovations, and on the other hand, we have Nordic countries who are considered to be leaders of innovations. But positive aspect of combining these two regions, European areas, is such that we are able to have in one room people and organizations who are excellent in implementing innovations and can help colleagues from Central and Eastern Europe to implement or to view the problem from a different perspective. So for us, partnerships are incredibly important for these innovations to be implemented. Let me give you one example. Back to startups again, we have a program named Test Farms, dedicated to farmers and startups for farmers within our activities. And this is because we have such strong partnership with various partners in this whole chain of value. We can talk to farmers to propose them rent us a field where startups can show a solution in the field directly, showing farmers benefits. And here, this is an ideal solution, because on the one hand, we are asking farmers, if we may, where they can, and on the other hand, we show solutions which have been worked out by somebody, not necessarily in one country, because, as I said, these are international relations. And what I would like to mention is we can see it as a trend, a typical solution for farming. Very often, startups and technologies we cooperate with actually come from farmers themselves, who face one very specific problem, and they are searching for solutions. What we can help, and we are very good at it, is finding a complementary expert opinion in the given area. So if somebody needs help and has a very specific problem to be solved, within our partnership we can find appropriate institutions which can help. So I think that from a partnership perspective, partnership is of key importance for development of innovations and for flow of knowledge. We have less than 4 minutes, but we started with a slight delay, so I'll take the opportunity moving on to the last piece of our panel, so summary. And well, we started the introduction from that end, but now from here, but very brief, because clock is ticking. So very briefly, a wrap-up. First of all, what should we do for breakthrough technologies to operate better in agriculture, so that innovation is better? And where are the women? How the breakthrough technologies can support active participation and involvement of women in broadly understood agricultural production. So within a wrap-up and from the farm, not to go into other competences. First of all, to be talking of innovations and new technologies, we have to take care of
Podstawą tutaj jest
the
właśnie
basis, which is taking care of soil, and first of all, a closed-circuit economy, not a soil robbing economy. We have to fertilize the soil, provide nutritive elements and pH, and we can actually focus on biology, because biology without proper pH will not be efficient. So let's take care of the basis and what good practices say. Soil, healthy soil. Vasyl. I would say a few sentences that first of all, this is availability of these technologies. Modern technologies should be available and price-wise acceptable for all farmers. Regulations should be supporting
wspierać innowacje
innovations
w rolnictwie. I trzecie to edukacja.
In farming, and the third thing is education. As we said here, through education,
Ten barier, który mają
to help
czegoś nowego, żeby pomóc im
people get to something new.
Także regulacje, innowacje.
So regulations, innovation and education.
Trzy filary ode mnie.
These are three pillars from me.
2 zdania podsumowujące.
Mirek,
Ja notuję.
brief
Dobrze.
wrap up.
Podsumowując, bardzo dużo tutaj wybrzmiało.
Wrapping up, we heard a lot of problems and barriers here. I will very briefly tell you these are problems individual institutions and farms or companies are not able to cope with. Therefore, I invite you to partnership within EIT Food or other partnership which will help you solve the problems. The larger the group focusing on problems, the sooner they will be solved. Yes, partnership and cooperation, yes. Marcin, I think first of all knowledge, data, and this is most important.
Charakter pracy powinien być taki, że
Type of work should be such that all activities, all decisions should be made based on rational grounds, knowledge and hard facts. Then I think there will be more women when they get perfect tools only solely for management, and the farm will not be
widzimy tego
well, actually visually we see this hard-working male, but that will be the person gathering all the data and making decisions, and somebody other is doing the hard
Myślę, że nie jest tak
work.
źle z kobietami, bo
I
często
think it is not so bad with women. I looked at the audience, and there is a right number. On my team,
w polu to są
in most our teams,
zadbana ilość kobiet, także myślę, że to
there is a balanced number of women, so it's not so
Jeszcze
bad.
ja szybko
So
tylko
gender
dodam.
balance. Let me quickly add, out of 25 people in Warsaw, there are only 3 males. Okay.
Prosimy następnym razem.
So next time, please.
Bardzo wam dziękuję
But thank you very much for the discussion. I think this
super
wrap up is greatly closing what we discussed here today. I wrote down that the key areas to support
mogły zafunkcjonować.
innovations working well in industry, in agriculture, is access to innovation, regulations, cooperation, flow of data and knowledge, and data-driven decisions, database decision. But the foundation is healthy soil, sustainable agriculture, and
Zapraszamy do rozmów w kuluarach.
please, thank you for listening to our debate. We are available in the foyer. I wish you an excellent day today and tomorrow.